That's it. If I get a flat line on the EKG, then I'll have proof that she's dead. Nobody could argue with a flat line. I excused myself and dashed back to the supply closet to get the EKG machine. I wheeled the dilapidated machine to Mrs. Rodriguez's bedside. The 10 leads were hopelessly knotted. I struggled with the tangled cords, twisting and pulling, muttering curses under my breath at whichever intern had used the machine last. There were 4 rubber wristbands for her wrists and ankles. I looped them around, trying to catch the metal hooks into the holes in the rubber, but they sloshed recklessly amidst the overgenerous supply of electrode jelly I'd applied. The 6 chest leads sported red rubber suction cups. I pinched each one to get sufficient suction to stick them onto Mrs. Rodriguez's chest. As I squeezed them, ancient electrode jelly from EKGs gone by slithered out in crusted blue clumps. Mrs. Rodriguez didn't have much bulk for the suction cups to grab onto. As soon as I fastened one onto her chest, the previous one I placed would pop off. I applied more jelly, then re-squeezed the suction cups. Pop, another one flew off. The grandson and family bent in closer and followed with their eyes back and forth as I chased down the obstreperous suction cups. The more jelly I applied, the more they popped off. I wiped away the hair that had fallen on my face, and a slimy glob of electrode jelly slid down my forehead. The stiff polyester collar of my white coat was plastered to my neck, cutting off all air supply to my body. Finally, the EKG was completely set up. I sucked in my cheeks and hit the start button. We all stared at the skinny strip of graph paper snaking out from the machine. Please, I prayed, please be a flat line, something I could hang on to. The paper emerged with unreadable squiggles. Between the air vents and the 3 IV pumps running in the next bed over, there was just too much background noise. I jiggled around the EKG leads, but I could not get a stable baseline. 2 more suction cups popped off. The grandson curled his hand around his grandmother's wrist. "She's dead, doctor," he said softly. "She has no pulse. You don't have to do any more tests." My face was burning, and I could only stare at the EKG electrodes that continued to pop off her chest. The grandson continued, "Mommy lived a long and wonderful life, but now she's dead. We were grateful that we could at least be with her in her last moments." The family joined hands and began to recite a prayer in Spanish. The weight of my white coat, laden with its instruments of medicine, pulled at my neck. The stiff material chafed against my clammy skin. I stood in silence while they prayed, coaxing moisture from my throat to wet my parched mouth. The stripe of electrode jelly on my forehead had solidified. My shirt was damp with sweat. 5 feet of EKG strips was crumpled in my sticky palm. When they were done, I unhooked all the EKG leads. I wiped the blobs of blue jelly from Mrs. Rodriguez's chest and closed her gown. I helped the grandson replace her housecoat and her cardigan sweater. I grabbed the EKG machine and started backing it and myself out of the room. I'm sorry," I whispered hoarsely, "about your grandmother, that is. And if you need anything, don't hesitate." The back wheels of the machine abruptly swerved left and I collided with the door frame. "Anything, really." I jerked the EKG machine out of the room and collapsed into a chair in the nurse's station. My face was rippling with heat and embarrassment. How could I not figure out whether or not Mrs. Rodriguez was dead? Wasn't that what doctors did? Pronounce the time of death? How could I ever be a doctor if I couldn't tell a dead person from a live one? I had my diploma tucked away in my apartment. I had those extra MD letters after my name. I had the medical center insignia on my white coat, and I couldn't distinguish life from death. When were all these magical medical skills supposed to materialize? I slumped over in my chair. The mountain before me seemed impossibly steep. I thought I'd already climbed so high, what with 4 years of college and 7 years of medical school. I'd already passed the first 2 parts of the medical boards. But it seemed that I was at the beginning again, craning my neck upward toward an insurmountable slope of knowledge. How could there exist so much to be ignorant of? Hadn't I made any progress in the last 11 years? I brushed the hair out of my face, and blue electrode jelly snagged under my fingernails. What was I going to write on the death certificate as the immediate cause of death? Rectal exam? Kevin materialized in the nurse's station without even having to be paged. He helped me sort through Mrs. Rodriguez's charts and fill out the death certificate. We listed Alzheimer's disease as the cause of death at age 90. And Kevin didn't use the word "gome" once. I wrote a brief expiration note in the chart. I didn't mention the rectal exam. In the morning, I staggered home in the brilliant July sun. A hot shower washed away the last of the electro jelly. A cup of tea and warm toast eased some of the aches. The crisp summer colors, azure cloudless sky, green trees sharply outlined between brownstones, brilliantly reflective glass skyscrapers. These colors soothed my eyes and chased away the endless darkness of night float duty. I crawled into bed, grateful for the soft, clean cotton sheets. I drifted off to sleep, thinking of Elba Rodriguez. I imagined her as a young woman, a fresh immigrant to America with her 3 children. I thought of her 90 years of life, of growing old in her Brooklyn neighborhood. I imagined that she'd been a regular patient at the Bellevue Clinic all her life, coming every year to the old brick building for her annual physical. Maybe she'd given birth to her children at Bellevue. Maybe she expected that she would die at Bellevue. Perhaps her spirit already joined the other ghosts in the Bellevue chapel. I hoped that wherever she was now, she forgave me for the indignities she suffered at the hands of an inexperienced intern. I'll do better next time, Mrs. Rodriguez, I whispered aloud as I drifted off to sleep, the morning traffic report bleeding from the radio. For the next patient, I'll do better. Just give me some time. Thank you.